The core of the heat runs from the Ohio area, Detroit, all the way down to Arkansas, and even including Dallas. So everything that's kind of in this peach color is a heat advisory that covers much of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and select areas in the Northeast too, and also in parts of the Carolinas. And then the intense heat, the extreme heat warning, St. Louis metropolitan area, the Tulsa metropolitan area, and areas are surrounding that a little bit, and much of eastern Arkansas, including also parts of Tennessee and Mississippi, and Memphis is definitely included in that as well, and around the Philadelphia area and parts of New Jersey and just to the west of New York under an extreme heat warning. But definitely the core of the heat is in the central U.S. This is the 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time Heat Index, including Bentonville, Arkansas at 111 degrees, very, very hot feeling. And anytime the heat index rises above 100, that's kind of an eyebrow raise. Above 105 consistently, that's almost on warning criteria. But it depends on how long it stays above that point, and the Weather Service has criteria for that. The heat's going to continue here. So June 27th through the 28th, or 27th through the 31st, it's going to be pretty much all of the Great Plains, I should say the mid-Mississippi River Valley, and almost all of the east except New England. And then on the 27th through the 28th, it's still going to linger up here, and then it's going to be shut down a little bit by some cooler air that works its way in. We can outline all that here by taking a look at the high temperature departure and also the actual temperatures. So it'll be 95 where I live here in Springfield, and that's above normal by about 4 degrees or so. And the west coast is going to be very cool, as will much of the central plains. I say cool, below normal, because when you take a look at Houston, 93, they're technically a couple of degrees below their normal high, but that's still pretty hot. And you can see also much of the eastern seaboard is pretty hot on Friday. That's tomorrow as I record this. And on Sunday, definitely a lot above normal temperatures here, including a peak there in the Carolinas and Georgia, another above normal spike there in parts of Nebraska. And you're seeing a smattering of 100-degree highs here across parts of the Great Plains and in the southeast as well. That's Sunday, and then skipping ahead 2 more days, it really doesn't change a whole lot through those same areas. Nashville will be up to 100, 101 in Memphis. Pensacola, Florida will be 100 degrees, so pretty warm throughout that part of the world, and still relatively cool on the west coast. In parts of the southwest, that's rain cloud cover there, and also cool fronts are making their way into the northern plains, so parts of the Dakotas managing to stay cool for this time of year as well. Flood watches are in effect for Wichita, Kansas City, Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas would also be included in that, as would be St. Joe, Missouri, and much of northern Missouri. Flood watch, also a select portion of northeastern New Mexico, and also a small part of southern Colorado. So here is the rain forecast for the next 5 days. So we definitely see why they've issued a flood watch for this area. So the yellow shading is indicating above 4 inches, and I'll show you close-ups of this area and this area as well. That's the next 5 days. Notice it's also pretty wet across Minnesota, parts of the Great Lakes into New England too. So let's break this down and go to the next 3 days, and this is city by city. So I mentioned Lawrence before. So for the next 3 days, they're forecasting 4.5 inches of rain up there, with this red area here indicating at least 2 to 3 inches. So pretty intense rain all along this frontal boundary, which is going to stall here, and that's why we're getting the excessive rain over a couple of days. And for the next 3 days, we do have a system moving through the Gulf. I'll tell you in a minute whether that has tropical characteristics or not, but many of these higher totals are out over the Gulf. But, there are still some 2, maybe 3 inch totals in extreme southern Louisiana and perhaps parts of Mississippi and Alabama as well. Now, going out to the 3 to 7 day period, this is where all the heavy rain is going to be laid out. The big bubble of high pressure is pretty much going to put the kibosh on any kind of organized rain. On the 27th, heavier rain in New England, and then 27th through the 28th in the northern plains into the Great Lakes, and then still that monsoonal flow in Colorado, Arizona, and also parts of New Mexico, a large chunk of New Mexico, actually. Going out even longer, this is the 8 to 14 day forecast. This gets into early August. This is a heavy rain area, or at least a slight risk. That's what this first shading of green indicates. Moderate risk of heavy rain, though, for coastal areas of Carolinas, maybe a part of Georgia. That would be the first 3 days of the month of August. So, yeah, the rainfall is, this is not tropical. It's not a tropical storm, although you might suspect that. Although the waters out here are very, very warm. Anything that does form out there, I think, would move away. This is just typical August, flow of very humid air with a little bit of support for rain. Severe weather is definitely showing a quieting down. Along the same frontal boundary, there is just a really small marginal risk of severe weather, mostly heavy down or heavy wind gusts around the Chicago area into southern Michigan, level 2 out of 5. I think last I checked, I didn't even see a watch in effect for that. And then if we just go ahead to Friday, the shift goes over to where this heavy rain zone is in parts of Kansas, almost all in eastern Kansas, actually. And then going on to Saturday, that moves back up to northern Illinois, Indiana, parts of Michigan, maybe even a small chunk of Ohio. And this is, again, lowest or marginal risk of severe weather, not too impressive, really. Typical as we get from July into August, that settles down a little bit. July 31st through the 6th, the supercell composite is oriented a little bit more north-south. That tells me that this right here is a cooler, drier, more stable air mass that's working its way in, and that verifies with everything I see in the longer range forecast for sure. But, the high plains and up toward Montana, that's where we're going to start seeing some severe weather possibilities. Let's take a look at the lower 48 here, put it in motion. We definitely see this frontal zone here with the typical blow up of the mushroom shape of these thunderstorms here. Looks to be a system moving through the Gulf. Talk a little bit more about that. 500 millibar flow shows weak systems. So this time of year, you expect the jet stream, if it's going to be stronger, not as strong as winter, but kind of a west to east motion across the northern plains, kind of keeps cool air bottled. Since it's not really amplified like this, and it's more like this, it doesn't let the cool air really sink very much into the lower 48. So it kind of gives the northern plains a glancing blow, and you saw that in the temperature forecast. The west coast is cool because this upper level trough here is centered off the coast of California. The center of the high pressure dome is actually off the Carolina coast, but the hot weather that you saw is actually settling in more like this. And as soon as this front wears off, the hot weather is just going to continue here for the next several days, as you saw, if not the next week or even longer than that. Well, in the tropical Atlantic, the only thing, this is actually the 2-day forecast, but the 7-day forecast wouldn't look any different. There is this 10% chance of something trying to form here. Remember that last one that we thought would be Dexter? This is the same kind of condition. It's not terribly organized. The center is not really over the water as much as it needs to be. So it's something. As usual, even if it does manage to get itself together and be named, it wouldn't be named, but identified as a tropical depression, it wouldn't change the rainfall forecast at all, which is, as you saw, pretty heavy down there. And just a real quick look, they are expecting the Atlantic hurricane season to be above normal by 60% chance that it will be, with 3 to 5 major hurricanes. And the peak of that season has not yet begun to hit. It ramps up very quickly in the month of August, by the way. We've gone through Andrea, Barry, and Chantal, and Dexter would be named next on the list. It is curious to see that this is issued once a week. This is the long-range tropical forecast for the Atlantic, and you can even see parts of the Pacific in this too. So this is activating again after getting off to a robust start in June. It's been silent out there. It looks like that's going to pick up. And interestingly, there is a slightly greater than 20% chance, 20 to 40% chance that areas of coastal Carolinas, parts of Florida, and the Gulf will have. This is from July 30th through August 5th. That percentage chance of forming. And this smacks of a stalled front and this same kind of pattern that is repeating itself again and again, where systems are kind of trying to get organized and moving westward through that part of the world, interacting with land a lot. So it's something to watch, but there doesn't seem to be anything too terribly impressive so far in the long-range forecast for hurricanes in the Atlantic. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.